on HR, hospital HR practice benchmark. You see, hospital services in the United Kingdom, and this is in continuation with my previous session where I did that study on post-COVID status of HR and OD interventions in private hospitals in Karnataka. One of my objectives, was to practice benchmark HR and OD interventions with those prevalent in GP surgeries in United Kingdom and suggest applications of appropriate interventions in private hospitals in Karnataka. So, with that in mind, I had to do some survey of primary GP surgeries in UK, knowing that hospital services in the United Kingdom are globally recognized and have a long way in strengthening the implementation of HR and OD interventions. It was reasoned that practice benchmark could be done looking into their kind of functioning, which would provide qualitative information on activities connected with people, processes, their technology, because all of this would offer a direction towards improvement by building a brighter future for all the stakeholders connected with private hospital services. So, to understand the paradigms of human resources and the organizational related practices in the NHS, that is National Health Scheme United Kingdom, and also to gain insight into the what you call the circumstantial realism of the people profession, 10 GP surgeries were visited across the United Kingdom. So the interviews were scheduled, data was collected using a structured questionnaire on practice benchmarking. So it covered an overall view of HR practices and in specific training and development, performance management, orientation, employee participation, and employee welfare. So the interviewees were asked to describe the HR/OD practices in their own words to gauge how the HR operations impact their behavior and performance. The inference is that effective staff management leads to maintaining high standards. So I went about overviewing the HR practices. The changes to the HR programs made in the hospitals that were directed towards staff and their career development included increasing starting salary. Okay, see, in India, the starting salary for entry positions are generally very mediocre. But there, because they have very strong stipulations in terms of certifications, in terms of mapping competencies, they will select the best of the best. Even if there is a dearth for labor, still there is, a dearth for shortage of doctors and nurses, still they will not recruit until and unless the standards are being met. So ad hoc recruitment for pressure is never their, they are never succumb to those things. So because of that, the starting pay, the entry pay scale itself is very good. So the starting salary, they will take care to ensure that it is best of the best. They provide more training programs and they will increase job challenges. Now, this was opined by 50% of the surgeries that I went. Accommodating and balancing work-life needs, increase in the frequency of performance feedback, providing more mentoring, and early increase in the reduction of working hours, early increase in the responsibilities were all scored by the 30% of the surgeries. But none of the surgeries scored on reduction of work hours, reduction in relocation frequency. ಯಾರೋ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ವಿಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್. Vijay Kumar, please mute. Okay, thank you. Providing more instant rewards, or on providing more personalized attention to staff. None of the surgery scored on this. Okay, I repeat, reduction of work hours, reduction in relocation frequency, providing more instant rewards, or on providing more personalized attention to staff. So, the practice of communicating organizational policies to the staff is primarily through the intranet. This is what all respondents stated. Major emphasis of HR and the allocation of time have been on training and development, most important HR activity, as well as employee welfare, recruitment orientation, and employee participation. These were 57% of the respondents opined on this, whereas 28% of the respondents emphasized that HR spends time on performance management as well. It was revealed as far as HR challenges faced 3 years ago, what they are today, and what they believe will be in the next 3 years. It was revealed that change management and employee retention was and would be continuous, and it will remain, as a challenge in the near future. So it has been a challenge in the past, during the COVID period, and in the future as well. This would remain a challenge. So the challenge of employee benefits cost with respect to health, welfare, and retrials, as well as recruitment and availability of skilled staff, looms large as a challenge for today and for the next 3 years. Coming to training and development, most of the training provided for employees is in the areas of mandatory fire safety, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, essential skills training, basic life support, well-being, continuous professional development, then professional development courses, safeguarding adults, safeguarding children, foundation programs, apprenticeship, externship, student information management system for trainees, then electronic staff record, departmental developmental plan. So most of these training were imparted in the past, that used to be on site, but today most of these training is imparted through online mode, except for some practical sessions. All the respondents agree to the provision of a training calendar that is prepared centrally by the Trust's education at the very beginning of the year, which gets reflected in the Rota calendar that is being managed by the Rota team and regulated by the electronic staff record system. So the individual training plan of the staff gets to be reviewed annually. The hospitals provide the internal trainers with formal training using, there is a method called prompt to F method. They use that. The hospitals go further beyond to assign mentors for every trainee. The mentors play the role of academic, educational, clinical supervisors. They are called as clinical supervisors or academic and educational supervisors. They supervise the training progression. So they have veto powers, these clinical supervisors. They identify the learning needs and opportunities. They assess the current skills and they identify future needed skills based on their job role. Also, the curriculum will be designed to meet the needs of the trainee. They provide guidance for annual appraisal and general medical council validation. That is very, very important. GMC validation does not happen without the competencies being ticked. So the process of evaluating training effectiveness is through feedback form, job performance, transfer of learning on the job, and through peer review. The difficulties encountered by hospitals in the implementation of training practices are allocation of funds and selecting the appropriate trainers. Time available for trainees to undergo training is another issue they face. The training and development process has undergone changes in the last 3 years, they say. Face to face classroom training is replaced by virtual online training through Track Jobs portal and through webinars. So, agreement is on the greater use of AI technologies, which was revealed by all the respondent GP surgeries. Coming to the orientation programs, they are highly structured. Placement in each area of operation is for a period of 2 months. The methodology followed includes brief presentations, visits to the ward, and orientation in departmental activities. The completion of induction process is mandatory to every trainee who is on a paid time at the very beginning of the job itself. Please look at this. They are paid. They are in a as if they are on rolls. They are on a paid time even during the orientation and getting trained. The effectiveness of staff orientation program is monitored using the booklet provided to provided to complete competency in each placement. So evaluation of the orientation program is by anonymous feedback form from the inductee and from the trainers. In post-COVID-19, the orientation method that was used was more frequently the online method. So all the respondents opined that the orientation programs are very comprehensive and structured. Coming to performance management, the implementation of performance management is in-house. So the process uses online training and appraisal portal where continuing professional development is monitored under the supervision of a deanery. See there, it is like there will be a deanery, and under deanery there will be a number of trusts. Under each of the trusts there will be a number of GP surgeries. So all respondent GP surgeries agree that the employees are given training on performance management system. So training in maintaining electronic staff record is made mandatory. Revalidation by the department or the tutor through peer review is a must. Feedback is made mandatory. During appraisal meeting, action plan for the next 6 months are drawn and training schedules are filled. Attending the training is compulsory. The employee's performance is evaluated yearly. Feedback, however, regarding employees' performance is given every quarterly. And the means of communication used to provide feedback is mostly through face-to-face interaction. Performance reviews are in the written communication mode that is delivered through online system and reports. There are different forms of performance management methods used for trainees and for permanent staff. Trainees are dealt by the deanery, while other permanent staffs are dealt by hospital trust. Respective deanery and regional centers of excellence will design the training system. Performance related issues are dealt with proper feedback reports. Education supervisors and supervisors and college tutors will engage in imparting structural training, giving regular reviews, and getting the staff involved in quality improvement projects. So employees have the opportunity to consult supervisors in times of disagreement. Look at the beauty of the system. The trainees too can question, can counter argue or put forth their voice. Now this is not seen as a form of offense but as a right of a trainee. So so also it could be for the employees. Andre trainees ke hagidaga, then employees is not a big thing at all. So employees have the opportunity to consult the supervisors in times of disagreement. They can even escalate the matters to the higher up. You may be lowest in the cadre down the hierarchy. You can escalate your issues right to the top if required. There is also the provision to seek guidance from managers to provide extra hours of training. If you're not satisfied and if you think you have not met the competency level, you can always ask for more hours of training. But of course, it needs to be substantiated. Then appreciation certificates are given for outstanding performance based on patient and peer feedback. So motivation among staff is kept throughout, continuous, by providing them, continuous opportunity for learning and provision for registration to additional courses. So good performance is recognized by the hospital through recognition and reward. That is mostly non-monetary, but not exclusive. Sometimes it is coupled with monetary gains. So the process of promotion followed by the hospital trust is by application to the next leadership role. It will be made known that wherever there is greater traffic, it will get displayed on the notice board, and the process of promotion begins with internal application to leadership roles. Annual appraisals are considered, and competency completion is an essential requirement to apply. Unless you have all your competencies cleared, you cannot apply. All the respondent GP surgeries believed that performance management system followed are already quite comprehensive, and they do not seek any change in the existing performance management system. They are very happy with the system. So the hospital staff's only reason where they are disgruntled, not very happy, is with the compensation package they are receiving and are often on strike for being paid low. This was true till the time I did my survey about 8 months back. I was told that they have reviewed the entire compensation system for the doctors, nurses, and the paramedics. Coming to employee participation, there is no specific continuous improvement scheme that functions, nor is there a system of structured suggestion. Monthly feedback of employees on behavior and other issues of supervision is the source for improvisation. So the kind of feedback that the employees get and the supervision that they get becomes the source of improvisation. The hospital promotes small group activities, quality circles, self-directed work teams, cross-functional teams, and fixed meetings for problem solving and self-union processes. ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ್ ಎಚ್ ಡಿ ಅವರೇ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿಮ್ದು. Well, the employee opinion says that, which is done, the survey is done yearly, and the action plans are also being drawn yearly based on the findings, okay, of whatever feedback reports that they get. Task groups are set up with defined purposes. Supervisors will foster teamwork by allocating roles that members are aware of through feedback and through appreciation. In fact, 28% of the respondents say the efforts towards encouraging team spirit is limited as everyone is handfully engaged due to shortage of staff in recent years. So there is not much scope for socializing, networking, and building that collaborative spirit. As regards employee welfare, the employee welfare measures constitute higher education assistance, leave bank, study leave, free transport, and subsidized food, followed by entertainment through annual day and sports activities. So the survey reveals that employee well-being is least seen as a challenge in hospitals in the UK due to their proactive measures. Are normally what we saw? Employee well-being concerns were the biggest challenge that hospitals faced. Their system of communication too is well grounded. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, the internal communication happened to be the bigger challenge during the post-COVID period. However, in the UK, employee retention is seen to be their major challenge. You know, their people, the attrition rate is high. But to combat this challenge, what they have done is putting them to a robust system of training and performance management, which would keep the staff members excited and motivated, and also they take measures to create that ambience where loyalty towards the hospital or the trust is improved. Another notable concern is the displeasure shown by hospital staff, as I already told you, with respect to their compensation. So, the findings of the survey of GP surgeries in the UK, paradoxically, in private hospitals, I told you in Karnataka, where employee wellness is seen to be a major challenge, while the GP surgeries in UK, employee wellness is seen as the least bit of a challenge due to proactive measures. Next, I said communication is another major challenge in private hospitals in Karnataka, while the system of communication is well grounded in the UK. In Karnataka private hospitals, retention of employees does not figure as a challenge, while in the UK, employee retention is seen to be a major challenge. Hence, they have that robust system of training and performance management, just to keep them motivated to extend their citizenship within the organization. So the hospital staff in Karnataka too have expressed discontentment with their salaries, just as the displeasure was being displayed by health workers in the UK. This was yet another commonality. So let's look at the HR practice benchmark. Some of the noteworthy people practices that NHS provides with respect to professional standards, unleashing the potential of its staff and encouraging them to be at their best are, will be discussed right away. Now, this is done, professional standards are established for curriculum development and in the formation of professional boards. So, meeting professional standards are ensured while recruiting. This is very, very important. That is why I said that unless you clear standards, even if there is a shortage, they will not recruit. Organization development skill enhancement programs are developed as a capacity building exercise. Let us look at some of the HR practice benchmarks that we could imbibe. Research orientation. It develops people services to align with the new vision. It builds a repository of good practices, shares knowledge, implements and celebrates collaborative initiatives, and it also brings clarity and transparency in the role of line and staff. They deliver in areas of core competence. They implement policies that focus on patient care and quality, optimal use of digitally enabled solutions, review organizational structure and climate for sound organizational health. They follow the centralized procurement to secure cost effectiveness of digital services. So procurement is completely centralized. Digital leadership and skill enhancement is being built within this people profession by sponsoring them for training and competency development in a very supportive environment. They emphasize equality, diversity, and inclusion. In fact, EDI, equality, diversity, and inclusion, pervades through all their policy decisions. ಅದು ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. It could be including manpower acquisition, including development or maintenance or motivation of employees. So it ensures compliance of standards for effective delivery of equality, diversity and inclusion in people practices. So this, in fact, they often revisit recruitment and promotional policy for EDI consideration. EDI andre equality, diversity and inclusion consideration. They provide developmental opportunities for staff, considering very important sensitive aspects such as race, disability, gender pay gap, etc. And they promote whistleblowing. They develop and maintain a restorative just culture. How? By creating a psychologically safe workplace. They create space to voice opinion without fear. Anybody could speak up on issues that they don't see as right. There is provision to escalate these issues to the higher ups in case of discrimination, particularly in any form of incivility. So EDI is considered to be so very important. They can't take chances and utter anything that is racist or discriminate them because of their color or gender. This is all viewed very, very seriously. Then HR accounts, HR's accountability for employee experience is taken very seriously. The HR will address employee feedback with action to create a congenial atmosphere at workplace. They would conduct periodic organizational climate survey in order to understand what is the employee's perception, what are their expectations, what is their experience, and reflect them in the performance dashboards. It gets to be displayed in the dashboards, and this becomes a point of consideration in promotion and career development plans. Further, they create sound mechanism for onboarding. Andre illi they will ensure robust induction process, which I have already explained to you about this, when I was talking about the orientation. They remove duplication and unwanted procedures and try to attract, develop and retain qualified personnel in sustaining people promise. And regarding leadership, they build leadership that addresses effective measures for onboarding employees. They develop and keep them satisfied. They keep them productive. Their focus will be on succession planning and development. Ella internal promotions first. Then they will look for externals. They will involve senior members in appointments and performance reviews. So it identifies the team aspirations. It will advise, it will navigate career paths for vertical progression. And their approach for comprehensive growth would be through establishing operational framework. They develop action plans. They build support infrastructure, that is along with financial outlays. Identify the training needs and build what we call as TMTs, transition management teams, to support these transformational efforts. And manpower planning and capacity development is yet another practice they engage in. In a way, they engage in manpower planning by collaborating with hospital administrators, clinical leaders, and the finance department. Now, they provide opportunity to access broader experience. They organize temporary staffing arrangements. They provide for easy movement across teams, mobility, and they identify vacancies after exploring internal mobility. So these are some of the practice benchmarks, HR practice benchmarks. Now let me quickly take you through what are those managerial implications for improvement. So the findings and the conclusion of the study on the post-COVID status of human resources and organization development interventions of select private hospitals in Karnataka point out the action in the areas of employee well-being, internal communication. See, I am relating both what I did in the first part of the session. I am drawing it from there, as well as I will be telling you how these HR best practices can both be amalgamated. So we had seen from our findings that the areas that need action are employee well-being, internal communication, changing work pattern and methods, performance management, economic sustainability, individual development, and learning and behavioral modifications. These areas are matra. Throughout my study, I found that the null hypothesis was accepted and that it had to be addressed. So the implication laid down in detail now, through my study, will lend itself for managerial decision making in the areas of planning, organizing, developing, and motivating the associated hospital staff through the process of employee welfare, communication, training and development, performance management, and organization development. So let's look at in the area of employee well-being, what could be done? Build people equity and create brand value by constantly assessing work quality. Engage employees and consider employee interest in their career growth. Secondly, provide for meaningful job roles that creates good mental health. Communicate the policies and clarify on different pathways to employment, and then examine reasons for exiting the hospital. Hire staff to take on documentation process, freeing domain specialists to concentrate on their core skills, reducing burnout. So this was what when I was through the interviews and when I was sitting before the GP surgery, what I noticed was the documentation process would take about 60% of their time, while 40% of the time only went into consultation. They expect them to be so meticulous with the documentation, and anything can creep up even after 30 years, 40 years. The doctors will be subject to legal scrutiny. So if the documentation is not perfect, then they are in for great problems. Or the poor, whatever they would have earned for decades will go off just by hiring an attorney to fight their case. So very, very meticulous, and documentation process is very, very laborious. So this is one thing. But in India, what has happened is the documentation process is very, very, I must say, it is not so, I must say, it is not so intensive, it is not so detailed. Mostly we go by the prescription that has been written, and that hardly gets to be documented, because our, the patient running into hospitals are so many. Unlike there, they have very few appointments that are given. Here it is not like that, it is dombi. Therefore, that kind of a what do you say, that kind of a system cannot be totally adapted as it is. But we must understand the necessity of documentation. Even in India today, the medico legal cases are on the rise. Therefore, such documentations, private hospitals particularly, do understand the seriousness of the documentation process. Coming to internal communication, you should make maximum use of digital solutions to improve people services based on patient feedback, foster data mobility, wherever possible, remove duplication, and also support periodic survey and analysis. So, provide information for quick decisions in employment as well as in wage administration. The other suggestion is implement high quality people analytics in order to enable interoperability of people data for informed decision making. Define the KRAs here, support the implementation of KRAs, and constantly monitor and benchmark best practices. Win trust of the employees using communication tools through appropriate message and methods that are acceptable to all. Disseminate the performance standards through acceptable modes of communication. Also ensure transparency and also maintain this transparent cross-cultural communication. Update through regular meetings with cross-functional teams to keep morale high of hospital staff. Send them emails with subject say like action needed, and thereafter you hold regular staff meetings to ensure that there is cooperation, there is mutual understanding. The new challenge of sudden shift in work culture can be mitigated through crisis response, say by keeping employees engaged, providing the right communication channels. It could be even tools for hybrid work where possible, such as online or video consultation, etc. Keep the employees abreast of updates on measures adopted by hospital leaders via emails, intranet, video links as valuable information sources. Emphasize the benefits of change initiatives to employees. Provide clear strategic direction to improve management of staff. Reprioritize the company goals with right communication alignment among hospital staff for fast and quick response. Keep the communication routes active to enhance their dyadic communication in mentorship program. Coming to changing work pattern and work methods, you ensure that there is a smooth shift in rules through trials. Particularly now you see in the reverse transition phase. Andre, there was one phase where they worked in hospitals. Of course, even now, even during the COVID, 80% of them had to work in the hospital. Maybe some roles here and there could afford to do online or virtual working. So there was a period where even, of course, doctors, were doing consultation online. So that was one phase. Then came a phase, they started, thinking that this is a very teleconsultation and video consultation were quite accepted, and people started using that. Now again, it's back to the there is a reverse order that is happening. Everybody is required to get back to the hospitals and work from there only. So what has happened is there is what is called as a reverse transition phase, where they have to readapt to changes, replan the workforce engagement, performance management, and workplace policies. So all this needs to go through a revamping exercise. Recruitment practices must be skill-based, clearly meeting the standards of the profession, be it medical, nursing, paramedical, or administration, with scientifically drawn job descriptions. This is what they do in the UK at least. Every job has a clear job description that is scientifically drawn, and recruitment takes place only and as long as those standards are being met. A painter has a certification, a barbender has a certification. Every kind of a service, any kind of an activity requires certification. So competency is something that they will not ever compromise on. Therefore, you could always see quality in their work. Then adopting hiring strategies that focus on competency, organizational culture. So the hiring strategies will we look into the organizational culture, particularly when it comes to employee personality fit and career goals, to act as strong retention and attraction drivers. Then they also require to demonstrate safety leadership to build confidence amongst employees. I told you when I made the survey on identifying the challenges that private hospitals are facing, doctors, many of them openly voiced out that they said there is a lacuna in safety leadership. So, demonstrating safety leadership is essential to build confidence amongst employees. And coming to performance management, ensure continuous result oriented performance appraisal that is no longer subjective but objective. Nodi, not subjective but objective andre. Don't give scope for relative grading. Give scope for absolute grading. That is what I mean. And you can be objective, you can have it customized for professional development of hospital staff by emphasizing the standards at the end and performance feedback on the other. At one end and performance feedback on the other. Follow MBO, management by objective approach, to formulate the KRAs, key result areas, and evaluate the objectives drawn that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and within the time frame. So, periodic review and assessment must be made. Provide learning opportunity at every stage of employee career. Build support mechanism to ensure OD is optimally using digital technology, implementing manpower planning, and designing organic structures. Maintain the rigor of professional accreditation for promotional pathways and build and provide coaching, counseling, role modeling, and mentoring. This has to be done as a serious act. Develop a framework of standard policies for consistency, quality, and improvement. Develop performance indicators for all levels of profession. Collect patient feedback and monitor implementation of recommended action. Define the job description. Give greater role clarity while aligning with strategic initiative and vision. Therefore, establish digital strategy and support implementation for improved performance. Also, design accountability standards and support systems to manage the talent using digital platforms in order to access information on competencies, relevant experiences, potential assessment, performance and progression, status and mobility options. Proactively lead talent strategy. Address EDI, andre equity, diversity and inclusion, encourage talent mobility, prepare for leadership positions, facilitate certification for skill development, and maintain supply of talent. Also, build real-time work strategies to shift focus to immediate responses and diagnosis and offer support with right tools to gather real-time updates by introducing data management and diagnostic tools. There is a need for proper onboarding because it is very crucial in talent retention. Structured induction, mentor matching, and feedback are important areas that needs focus. And then the coming to economic sustainability. Ade, see, human sustainability, environment sustainability, social sustainability, ella, you had very good response. But when it came to economic sustainability, they were unhappy. So, the suggestion is your compensation policy must be performance based. So, performance based compensation policy will help in employee retention. Design the policies that mitigate income inequality within the same level. Examine the feasibility of introducing market prevailing compensation package and reduce as a rather go about introducing gain sharing incentive plans. You design rewards and recognition programs which do not add to regular paychecks, like offering bonuses. So your design of the reward and recognition plans must be such that it is more of creating loyalty, belongingness, and the like, and not, that is, to ensure that people are retained based on the quality of the quality of environment that you provide, the congeniality of the environment that you provide, rather than the quantum of compensation. So this is about economic sustainability. And then individual development interventions that need introduction is address the underrepresentation by identifying talent, providing support, and also designing pathways to inspire growth, assess gaps, to retrain professionals by meeting the goals of equality, diversity, and inclusion. Team up with academic institutes, research centers, and hospitals for hospitals of more successful hospitals for catalyzing growth, providing for apprenticeship, encouraging succession, undertaking survey feedback, and identify underrepresented platforms. So HR and OD professionals must not only prioritize employee wellness but also identify the inequalities and address them through action plan. Allow the employees to voice and acknowledge employee bargaining power. That is how you enhance employee participation. Impart orientation and training on new technologies. Sponsor training for new certifications and critical competencies. Upskill and reskill digital skills training. Focus on individual motivation, training in mindfulness, and flexibility in employee focused policy must be addressed. And last of all is learning and behavioral interventions. Develop quality norms for employees. Their skill sets, competencies, and behavior by collaborating the work of both line and staff. Engage them in strategic planning and implementation. And then you readdress the behavioral norms at workplace with importance for empathy, mutual respect, and relationship management in order to boost the employee morale and opportunities to rekindle the pre-COVID scenario. So adjust the operating models to behavioral change. Now, these are some of the suggestions that were made in terms of managerial implications for improvement. So, to conclude, hospitals in future must address fairness, multiplicity, and inclusion. Work culture and tactical arrangements must be meticulously examined. Technology and data must be used. Employee involvement and satisfaction is very critical, that must be often examined. Planning, specialized training and development, importance to structure and process, and unified system of care, capacity building, governance are all very, very important aspects of functional management and organizational development. So, this was the entire work that I did in a period of 1 year. Just in March, I completed this study. I'm bringing out a book. I'm publishing a book on this, the narrative version of this book, and I hope that would be of some interest to the medical practitioners, as well as people, the students of hospital administration and the like, and also to every other researcher. So, if you have any questions, I request you to please post them. Now, these were primarily my experience of going them. During this work, I must tell you, I faced very many challenges. There were challenges that were limited because of resource, because of very limited resources. There is no paperwork there at all. Everything is computerized, and getting an A4 size paper for me to do some jotting also was such a big thing, and the difficulties were extremely, I must say, annoying and frustrating to seek appointments. The logistic challenges were there, from from one place to go to another place, and then they would be busy, and only if they were free they would give us time. This was an addition. This was out of courtesy and in addition to what they were doing. So it was not very welcoming that where you went in to collect data, but too much of traveling had to be done, and of course the financial burden of having to go from place to place was very heavy. Nevertheless, it was a determination that I had, a passion that I had to do some meaningful study. So I went around, but then I there in the UK I based it on convenience sampling without compromising on the purpose of the survey. I had to resort to convenience sampling of these 10 GP surgeries.